Hello and welcome to Chats with Jeannie. I am Jeannie, your host, and this is my first ever podcast episode. So, naturally, our topic today is going to be starting before you're ready. Yeah, I don't know about you, but just that sentence alone, it brings up a lot for me in my body and in my energy. So, before we dive in, I invite you, if you can, to just close your eyes or maybe just keep a soft gaze and take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. And think about something that you have really been wanting to try or start, or maybe even publish. Maybe you've been working on it, but you're ready to go public with it. And the thought of doing it before you really feel ready. Just noticing what that brings up for you. If any part of your body starts talking to you, maybe your heart starts to race a little bit and you feel excited. Or maybe you feel your shoulders begin to round and your body starts to shrink a little bit. Maybe a feeling of overwhelm. Maybe even all of the above. So just taking another couple of seconds to drop into what the feeling of starting something that's really important to you before you feel ready brings up for you in your body. And then shaking it off, doing whatever you need to do, and coming back to. Yeah, this one can bring up a lot. I hear it time and time again from others around in the studio and with clients, with friends, and it certainly brings up a lot for me. I've been on this pathway for a couple of years now, and when this became started to become a big theme for me, starting before you feel ready, was really back to the moment that I decided that I wanted to live my life from a place that was navigated by my purpose, by my passions, by my callings. I wanted to switch from that place where I was working hospitality jobs, bartending, serving, cleaning, doing whatever, just so I could travel and see the world, to then wanting to be able to put myself out there and share knowledge and connect with people at a really deep level and follow my dharma, which means your purpose in Sanskrit. So starting before you're ready. When I first started down this path, I was not up for starting before I was ready. See, I love to learn and take courses and study. So I was really, really excited for all of that, to be the student again. How am I going to learn how to be a yoga teacher or to be a coach or to hold space for others? That came pretty easy for me. I could stay in school forever when it's these kinds of topics, right? Not like school. No, that shit sucked. But um, as far as learning from other teachers or spiritual teachers, yeah, all day, every day. But when it came time to, okay, go out and practice what you learned, oof, I froze. I knew that I wanted to share yoga and teach yoga from maybe like the third class that I ever took. But it took me probably about 10 months to even have the confidence to go up in front of a classroom and teach after I finished the training. And that's actually a really common phenomena. I know so many people who say, they either took a training and they say, "Oh, I'm not ready." Like, "Oh, no, I don't think so." And I've even fallen into that. Like, "Oh, okay, I think I need another training before I get up there and teach." And yes, it's so important to be in integrity, right? And to make sure that people are safe in your class when you're in a leadership position, right? Of course, that goes without saying. But if you find yourself in one of these positions where this is something that you've really wanted to do and you've learned a bit about how to do it, and it's time to go out there and then you freeze and you say, "Nope, I got to take another course," or, "Oh, nope, I need a mentor," or, "Nope, not time yet." I have some news for you that you'll probably never feel ready. We never do. I mean, it's just one of those things where you learn by doing. And you've probably heard this before, but I'm here to reinforce that if you have, because when we start something, we're probably going to suck at it, right? And even like this podcast episode, for example, I don't know anything about podcasting. I have a couple of microphone equipments and things like that from when I would film yoga classes online, but I don't know anything about podcasting or public speaking or editing. And, honestly, I hope that we all look back on this first episode and say, wow, that audio quality, or oh my gosh, you know, she didn't put her camera on. She didn't have this cute little backdrop ready to go, or like, oh, she seemed nervous. Yeah, I hope we look back on that because that means that I'm growing, right? That means that you're doing the work anyways. And that is how you get better. That is pretty much the only way. And what I found in going through this pattern time and time again with these things that I really wanted to do and put out there in the world, but then I felt afraid, so I stopped, or I, held back, or I invested in more training instead of just doing the thing and learning, is that it's just really is a form of procrastination. And it's okay because, in our lives, the most important things to our bodies is to feel safe. So if you just like push yourself way out there, some people this might work for you, but for me, no way. Like if you just push yourself so far out into the deep end, then and you feel so nervous that it's just this big traumatic, enormous experience, like that might do more damage than good. But just holding yourself accountable to take these little baby steps before you feel ready is the way to feel ready and confident. It is the only way. And yes, it's probably going to be messy and not great when you start, right? So back to this podcast and how it even came to be in the first place is I'm lucky enough that I have a lot of very intuitive people in my life. And one of my friends, she called me up one day out of the blue. I was just doing my thing. And she calls me and she says, Jeannie, and also I'll say this is she knows that I've been really trying to um, create this life where I'm, have a business and I'm being able to be authentic and true to myself and not have to hide. And I can really help and connect with people from that authentic space. So she knows that I've been working towards this. And she calls me, she said, Jeannie, you need to start a podcast. And I thought the reason why was so beautiful is that she said that everybody has these unique almost fingerprint, I think she called it, but unique energetic imprint, right? Like your energy is so unique to you. And there's so many people out there who will resonate and who need the medicine that you have to offer, and you need the medicine that they have to offer. But the only way that that can even come to be is if you put yourself out there, if you put your unique fingerprint out there into the world for others to then be drawn to, and then you connect and you learn from each other. I mean, can you think of something that is more beautiful in this world, in this life than that, right? But the only way is if you start before you're ready, because you probably like what is feeling ready, right? Like feeling confident, feeling good, feeling like it's, you're going to rock it. But what if you never feel that way? And then all those people that would have been drawn to your unique, energetic fingerprint medicine truth that you and only you have to offer, what if you never put that out there because you never feel fully ready, fully confident, fully like, yeah, I'm going to rock this thing. So here I'm going to do this podcast, I'm going to do this, teach this class, or lead this workshop. And if you never feel that way, then whatever happens to all that beauty that happens from putting yourself out there before you feel ready. Yeah, letting that sink in. So that's why we're here right now doing this podcast before I have my setup and editing skills, right? Because my hope is that these words are more important than if I have this beautiful backdrop or this perfect audio quality, or maybe I don't sound nervous in my voice because I totally am, right? Yeah, this is a big one. I mean, I would love to hear from you if you've had any of these experiences where you really, really were drawn to something. You really wanted to do this thing, start this business, lead this workshop, whatever it is, and you were waiting until you felt ready. I mean, I'll give you an example. I have this other friend, and she is so deeply passionate about astrology. She's the girl that anytime I have any astrology question or any kind of thing, anybody's chart, like I'll send it right to her and she comes back with this deep dive that she does on her own time of this like big study, and she learns and she analyzes. She always has this most beautiful, powerful perspective to share around whatever question. And then I'm always like, you should do readings. You should. And it's just like, well, I just have so much more to learn. I have so much more to learn first. And I'm just like, girl. And I get that, right? It is important to have training, and maybe you want a mentor and there's little like finite details that you want to learn first before you go and you take that next step and you put out there. But it's like that inner voice that says like, no, I'm not ready. If I do this, I'm not safe. If I do this, people will ridicule me. If I do this, my nervous system is going to freak out because it's a potential danger, right? Our nervous system doesn't perceive so much whether something is a real threat or not. If it feels like a threat to us, to our emotional body, to our past experiences, it will perceive it the same way as like real danger, right? Like real imminent danger. So the thought of somebody making fun of you or saying like that shit sucks, that is just as scary to your nervous system as like a tiger chasing you, right? Or it could be. And it is important to honor those things. And like I said before, not overly push yourself, but maybe get clear on, why does this feel so scary? What's underneath this? Why do I feel like I can't start this yet? What's the worst case scenario? And if it's like a total liability thing, then yes, do your diligence. But what I'm talking about is more of that little voice inside our heads that says like, who do you think you are to put this podcast episode out there, or to like post a story on Instagram, or to share about your business or your offering or whatever the case. Yeah. What does that little voice have to say? And what can you say back? Talk to your body. I mean, that's what I do. Like when I start to feel like something is really big and nerve wracking, I say, like, okay, maybe I notice my shoulders like way tensed up in my jaw. I say, like, it's okay. You can soften. You're safe. You've got this. You have support. And let me tell you, if there's one thing I've learned in the past couple of years of trying to live a soul led life, of living my purpose and putting myself out there, yeah, it's like it is really scary sometimes. But if you're doing it with those intentions, you will always be supported. There is no denying your unique, energetic fingerprint being out there in the world, and then having the right people come back to you and be like, wow, holy shit, this really helped me. This changed my life, right? I mean, even think about the people that really, really deeply inspire you. Can you imagine if they never started because they weren't perfect yet? I mean, here's something that you can do. This is actually something that really helped me when I was starting to film YouTube videos. I would go to these people that really inspired me. Like I love their videos, I love their content, whatever it is that they're doing. And then you can actually scroll up and go to sort videos by first, or like by oldest videos or whatever. And you go back to their first videos they ever posted and just watch, and just like, it probably was awful. Like the quality, they were nervous, were rambling. And it's just nice to see that because, are you there like saying mean things about them? Hell no. You're like, wow, that's really inspiring to see how they've grown, right? So if you're waiting for the permission slip to just start it, whatever it is, even just like one little baby step, one little step that still feels safe, but right on the edge. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. And just, think about like, okay, like what is the worst thing that could happen? What's the best thing that could happen? Right? So let this be your permission slip to just get it out there. And something I think I just read this recently or I saw this somewhere and it was about how the I'll take an example. So I practice Ashtanga yoga and like a super advanced Ashtangi would never make fun of somebody who's coming in and they're just starting Surya Namaskar A and Surya Namaskar B, like the beginning of the practice. They would never make fun of somebody. They would never have anything to say about their process, right? But maybe somebody who's never stepped inside a yoga studio, like they're the ones that are probably going to have something to say. So the people that have negative things to say about whatever it is that you're going to start, they've probably never even dreamed of putting themselves out there or doing something like that you want to do. And that's okay, right? It's like I've done that before. I've judged people for doing things that really in the end like I was actually super inspired by, right? Here's a recent one. So I used to see these girls like, doing these like embodiment dancing and the feminine dancing. They would post these videos of themselves on like Instagram dancing. And I remember just being so like cringed out, just like, ugh, God, that's so vain. How could they like, oh no, like I can't stand watching that stuff. But then here I am 3 years later in an embodiment course teaching people how to actually do this dance and drop into their bodies and feel that divine feminine. So, like, really, I was judging them, but truthfully, I was inspired by them. I just didn't know how to hold space for myself in that way yet. Yeah. So, don't let the people that haven't learned how to hold space for themselves in that particular way yet hold you back from taking your first steps into whatever it is that's really on your heart that you want to do because they probably need it the most, number one. And number two, there are so many people out there waiting to hear what you have to say, what you have to bring in your words, in your perspective, right? There's so many people out there that are waiting and ready, and they don't care if the sound quality isn't great, right? The people who are meant to receive the message will receive the message. Yeah. This one got real serious real fast, but it's high on my heart because like everything that I'm speaking to you, it's because I was so afraid. I was so afraid of sharing and teaching and doing these things, even though I knew that they were the most important things that I'll ever do in my life. Right. And I'm still on this path. Like I'm still trying to figure it out. What feels right, what title to call of this, or how to like express myself. I'm still in the muck on that one. But the only difference is now, after years of working on this, I am starting before I feel ready. So, my intention for this first episode is if you find yourself in those kinds of patterns where you want to procrastinate and you need to get this equipment before you do the thing, or you need to get this course, or you need to like, practice this much before, like, no, like I could bet that you are probably ready to go out and do the thing, at least to some extent. At least what's that next little step that you can take that is going to bring you some action behind what's really important to you? Because it's important to you for a reason. Like this stuff doesn't just come up in our lives for nothing. You're drawn to these things for a reason. And if you're listening to this podcast, it's probably something that's going to help a lot of people. right? So don't deprive them of that because you don't have it all perfectly down in this neat little package of like years of experience behind your belt. Hmm. So that concludes the first episode of Chats with Jeannie. That's another one is the name. I always used to get hung up on names like, oh, I need to like find the perfect name. Oh, this domain name on this website is taken. So I guess I have to just scrap this whole idea and start the next thing. Like, no, just do it. When was the last time that you didn't listen to something that really or do something because it was named something that you weren't like, "Wow, that's an amazing, inspiring name," right? Like, you just listen, you just do it. So, ugh, always learning. Well, thank you so much for tuning in and listening. I really look forward to connecting with you. Please comment, reach out to me if this hit home. I really would love to hear from you. The whole purpose of this is to connect together more like minded people who are on this path of living a life that is led by your soul purpose and coming back to your authentic truth, despite what anybody has to say about it. So, yes, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate your likes, shares, comments, subscribes, all of it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. See you next time.